Filtration for African dwarf frogs. Must watch. Do African dwarf frogs like filters? Although filtration is essential for African dwarf frogs, filters might be the reason for disturbances and discomfort for your frogs. Hence, the researchers made a hypothesis that African dwarf frogs may not like filters. You might have known that African dwarf frogs like to stay in steady and motionless water. These frogs do not like much water movement. And filters cause vibration in the water no matter how good the filters are. Aquarium filters tend to make more or fewer noises. African dwarf frogs are pretty sensitive to noise because of sensing the vibration. What kind of filter do African dwarf frogs need? There are several types of aquarium filters of different brands. You can choose any one of them for your African dwarf frogs after checking out the features. Common types of aquarium filters are hang-on back, HOB, or power filters, internal canister filters, sponge filters, fluidized bed filters, under gravel filters, external canister filters, etc. African dwarf frogs live without a filter? African dwarf frogs can live without a filter if you frequently change the tank water. In case you are not interested in keeping an aquarium filter, you should do the water change manually. Your African dwarf frog will not survive. The water of the tank gets dirty soon, mainly because of the wastes produced by your African dwarf frogs. Besides, the leftover foods, rotten plants, etc. contribute toxins to the water. For this reason, African dwarf frogs require a good filter to remove the toxins from the water. Do African dwarf frogs need aeration? African dwarf frogs are fully aquatic. These frogs do not have any gills. Despite living underwater all the time, dwarf frogs come to the surface to breathe fresh air. Hence, these frogs do not require aeration at all as they do not breathe from the water. Just the aeration system to let your dwarf frogs play with the bubbles. Do dwarf frogs need air pump? Don't require air pump. If you want to add bubble effects in the frog tank, you can keep an air pump. It will aid your pet frogs to remain playful and happy. There is no stereotype rule for keeping an air pump for African dwarf frogs. After all, these dwarf frogs do not need an air pump in captivity.